Chapter 346, The Enigmatic Relationship Between Mother and Child. Young Master Huo. When the man saw Huo Liancheng, he immediately greeted him. When he saw Jian Yun, he raised his eyebrows. It's you. Jian Yun's attention was originally on Huo Qingcheng. When she heard the man's words, she looked up, but the man in front of her was very unfamiliar. She felt that she did not know him, so she smiled politely. You don't remember me? We met in the hospital, the time you cried in the garden. The man's eyes lit up as he pointed at his nose. I was right next to you. Jian Yun blinked. She still could not remember seeing this person before. Was she crying in the hospital? When her mother was seriously injured and hospitalized, she cried in the hospital several times. Who knew who this man was? He is Yin Che. Senior Yin's grandson has been treating Qingcheng with the acupuncture technique passed down by the Yin family. Huo Liancheng introduced Jian Yun to him. He naturally knew when Yin Che said Jian Yun was crying, but he definitely wouldn't remind Jian Yun. Hello? Jian Yun smiled. She had some impression of Senior Yin's grandson when she said that. That time when she returned to Qinghu City with Huo Liancheng from Boshan, she seemed to have applied the ointment from this man to the wound on her arm that was scratched by Xia Bingbing. I was wondering why the photo looked so familiar. It turns out that you are young Master Huo. I've known this beauty for a long time. Yin Che sized Jian Yun up and praised her. No wonder young Master Huo is in a hurry to tie you up with the marriage certificate. How many people would covet such a beautiful lady? Jian Yun was a little embarrassed by such a straightforward compliment. She pursed her lips and looked at Huo Qingcheng. When she looked at her, she immediately raised her eyebrows in surprise because she realized that Huo Qingcheng, who had been staring at the rose flowers since they came in, actually turned her head to look at her. Huo Liancheng and Yin Che also noticed Huo Qingcheng's strange behavior. The two of them instantly stared at Huo Qingcheng nervously and agitatedly. Qingcheng, do you still recognize me? I am the elder brother. Huo Liancheng squatted in front of Huo Qingcheng's wheelchair. He had to work very hard to control his excitement. However, Huo Qingcheng did not pay attention to him. Her eyes were always looking at Jian Yun. Her pretty and pale face was still in a daze. Jian Yun's mind moved, and she also squatted in front of Huo Qingcheng. Following her actions, Huo Qingcheng's eyes also changed, and were still focused on Jian Yun's face. Hello. You are Qingcheng, right? My name is Jian Yun. Nice to meet you. Jian Yun reached out and held Huo Qingcheng's hand. She bent her eyes and greeted her. Huo Qingcheng did not respond. The light in Huo Liancheng's eyes slowly dimmed. He lowered his head and his handsome face revealed a sad expression. The corner of his mouth also revealed a bitter smile. Just now, he actually thought, she seems to be interested in you. Yin Che was not disappointed. Instead, he looked at Jian Yun in high spirits. Talk to her again. Do you like these flowers? Jian Yun turned her head and pinched a pink rose. She handed it to Huo Qingcheng. Look, what a beautiful flower. Huo Qingcheng looked at Jian Yun and did not pay attention to that flower. Jian Yun sighed in her heart and thought to herself, this girl had slept for so long after all, how could she wake up just because of her appearance? This was simply overestimating her, and it was too fantastical. Pretty. Just as the few of them were filled with disappointment and despair, a low voice suddenly sounded. Although the voice was hoarse, it was like the sound of nature to Huo Liancheng and Yin Che. In an instant both of them were stunned, followed by wild joy. Keep talking to her. Yin Che urged Jian Yun. Jian Yun scratched her head. What did I tell her? Just say it. Huo Liancheng's eyes lit up. He grabbed Jian Yun's hand and said excitedly. She said something. Did you hear her? It has been so many years. She really spoke. Jian Yun's wrist was grabbed by Huo Liancheng. He did not control his strength and grabbed her until she cried in pain. However, Jian Yun did not complain. She knew that he did not do it on purpose. He was just too excited. Ah, today's weather is really good. Look at the sky is so blue, the clouds are so white, the trees are so green, the flowers. Jian Yun felt that it was a little difficult to find words without words. Huo Qingcheng's eyes were still focused on Jian Yun's face. Beautiful. Qingcheng. What are you talking about? Shen Fangqi's voice suddenly sounded. Just behind Jian Yun and Huo Liancheng, the few of them actually did not notice when she came in. Beautiful, big sister, beautiful. Huo Qingcheng's lips moved. This time, everyone clearly heard her say that big sister was beautiful. Jian Yun smiled. You are also very beautiful. Huo Qingcheng's empty eyes seemed to flash with light for an instant, but then it disappeared. Her expression was still blank, but the corner of her mouth was slightly raised. Shen Fangqi had already covered her mouth and took a few steps back. She leaned against the wall and tears rolled down her face. Huo Liancheng's eyes were also red. Although Huo Qingcheng did not react after she said that, and no matter what Jian Yun said, she just looked at Jian Yun blankly. But everyone was so excited that they could not control themselves. After coming out of Huo Qingcheng's room, Jian Yun saw Huo Liancheng reach out his hand to wipe his face. She was very considerate and did not ask anything. Returning to the room, Jian Yun looked at the suitcase in the corner and hesitated to tell Huo Liancheng to go back a few days later. Even if his relationship with his mother was very bad, he was very concerned about his sister. Would he be at ease if he left just like that? Huo Huo Liancheng and Jian Yun spoke almost at the same time. Both of them stopped at the same time and looked at each other, waiting for each other to speak first. What are you going to say? Jian Yun asked. Huo Liancheng was silent for a while before he said, Can we stay for a few more days? Jian Yun pursed her lips but did not say anything. Huo Liancheng hurriedly explained, Just stay for 3 days. Qingcheng seems to like you very much. Yes. Jian Yun nodded. Huo Liancheng heaved a sigh of relief and asked Jian Yun, What did you say just now? Just like you said. Jian Yun blinked and smiled naughtily. Huo Liancheng was stunned for a moment. He immediately picked Jian Yun up and kissed her heavily. He could not suppress his excitement. Thank you. Jian Yun replied, with 3 words. I love you. When it was dark, Shen Fangqi found Jian Yun. Jian Yun was nervous when she saw her, especially when Shen Fangqi did not say anything. Just looking at her made Jian Yun's heart palpitate. She hesitated to say what she wanted to say. Luckily, Shen Fangqi did not stay silent for long. Liancheng said that you all plan to leave in a few days. These words were not a question. Jian Yun did not hide it and nodded her head. Yes, we plan to spend a few days with Qingcheng. Shen Fangqi lowered her eyes and nodded. Without saying anything, she turned around and left. Jian Yun looked at Shen Fangqi's back, and the doubt in her heart increased. This woman did not seem to care about her own children. Jian Yun could see that she cared a lot about Huo Qingcheng. Chapter 347. You like the new, so soon you hate the old? At night, Jian Yun applied ointment on Huo Liancheng. The area of his back injury was too big, so he could not lie down. He could only lie down and sleep. Jian Yun laid on his side and urged Huo Liancheng to sleep. It was not easy for him to rest for a few days and he was injured again. She wanted him to sleep early. But how could Huo Liancheng sleep? Although he was lying on his stomach, he stretched out his arm and pulled Jian Yun into his arms. Jian Yun's fragrance went straight into his heart. Huo Liancheng could not help it. His eyes flashed and his hands became unruly. No. Wait until you are better. Jian Yun was scared. Huo Liancheng was like a woman who had never seen a woman in 800 years. He did not have any self-control in that matter. If she allowed him to do whatever he wanted, his body would sooner or later be hollowed out. Finally, Jian Yun firmly refused. Huo Liancheng forced himself not to go deeper. The two of them were intimate for a while. Jian Yun suddenly remembered that her phone had not been turned on for 2 days. Ever since Huo Liancheng announced on Weibo that they were married, her phone was about to explode. Other than a few close friends, the rest were all trying to get close to each other. They were even here to borrow money. Jian Yun really could not handle it, so she simply turned off her phone. Yesterday, when they arrived in Switzerland, Jian Yun still used Huo Liancheng's phone to call Ouyang Fei and tell her that she was safe. Jian Yun thought about it, but she still did not turn on her phone. Instead, she used Huo Liancheng to quickly log into her WeChat. After chatting with Wu Wenjing and Luo Yanyan for a while, she also knew that the news of her marriage with Huo Liancheng on the internet had already reached a new height. But with Huo Liancheng's interference, no one scolded her this time. Instead, they praised her for being the winner of life. As for Lin Fen, Li Fang and the other clowns, they had long been drowned in their saliva. Especially Lin Fen, her so-called backstage godfather had abandoned her and cut ties with her. Now she had been banned from the entertainment industry. Jian Yun did not sympathize with Lin Fen, but she sighed at the miserable outcome of offending Huo Liancheng. What are you looking at? The wound on Huo Liancheng's back was so painful that he could not sleep. He saw Jian Yun frowning and sighing at the phone. He could not help but prop himself up with his arms. That Lin Fen has been banned by the entertainment industry. All the film companies have cut ties with her and said that they will not look for her to film anymore. Jian Yun exited WeChat and looked at Huo Liancheng from the corner of her eye. Isn't it too much? It's not like I did it. Why are you looking at me? Huo Liancheng shrugged. Not you? Jin Yun did not believe him. Why are you in such a hurry? Jin Yun paused when she said this. She had also thought about it. With Huo Liancheng's identity, there was no need for him to go against a small artiste, but this did not mean that those film companies would deliberately do this to make Huo Liancheng unhappy, so he did not need to do anything. As long as he had the marriage certificate, those who wanted to curry favor with him naturally would not deliberately offend him. It seemed that this time, Lin Fen would never be able to turn the tables. All right, who cares what those people do? Huo Liancheng pointed at his back. It hurts. I'll apply the medicine for you. Jian Yun quickly put down her phone and reached for the ointment. This was the ointment from the Yin family. It was cool and had a swelling effect. The whip wound on her arm was no longer painful after she applied it twice, but the wound on Huo Liancheng's back was too deep and too serious, so the effect was not obvious when he used it. What you want to do is not to apply the medicine to me. Huo Liancheng held Jian Yun's hand and did not let her move. His eyes were also staring at her, and his eyes were shining. Then what do I want to do? Jian Yun curled her lips. Don't tell me you're thinking about that again. It's useless, even if you want to. You're not cooperating. Huo Liancheng pretended to be sad. Jian Yun could not help laughing. She pinched Huo Liancheng's nose and asked him, I am very curious. Your desire is so strong. How did you not get close to women in the past? You want to know. Huo Liancheng pointed at his lips with a tsundere expression. Kiss me. If I am happy, I will tell you. Jian Yun pursed her lips. This time she did not refuse. She wrapped her arms around Huo Liancheng's neck and kissed him. This kiss lingered for a long time. When it stopped, both of them were panting. Jian Yun's small face was flushed and her big eyes were watery. She was so shy that Huo Liancheng wanted to swallow her. Can you not use so much strength next time? My tongue is about to break. Although she was complaining, Jian Yun's voice was soft, and she sounded more like a spoiled child. Who told you to be so delicious? Huo Liancheng stroked Jian Yun's face, and I still have a feeling of disbelief. Unbelievable, what? Jian Yun played with Huo Liancheng's finger and asked curiously. I can't believe you will really fall in love with me. Huo Liancheng said in a deep voice. Jian Yun blinked and thought she was hallucinating. Are you kidding me? You're a diamond bachelor ranked in the world. How can you be so unconfident? Yes, I actually feel inferior, Huo Liancheng said sadly. Don't come. Jian Yun rolled her eyes at Huo Liancheng and could not help laughing. Don't try to trick me with flowery words. If you can't, you can't. Huo Liancheng's scheme was exposed and he was not angry. Instead, he kissed Jian Yun with a cheeky smile. Just once? No. Jian Yun immediately rejected it. Seeing that Huo Liancheng was disappointed, she could only comfort him again. Don't think about that all day long. I will be under a lot of pressure. Just lie down and enjoy it. What pressure? Huo Liancheng did not understand. Jian Yun felt her neck heat up when she heard that. She slapped Huo Liancheng on the shoulder. Do you want me to be a wooden puppet? Then forget it. Huo Liancheng thought about it and shook his head. I might as well be an inflatable doll. Jian Yun's eyes lit up. That's a good idea. Not bad, your head. Huo Liancheng was displeased. Are you starting to get tired of me? Yes. Jian Yun deliberately nodded. Huo Liancheng did not expect Jian Yun to admit it. His handsome face immediately changed. You are so fond of the new and hate the old so quickly. You want to abandon me? Nowadays there are so many young and fresh meat. I always look at your face. I always want to change my taste. Jian Yun squinted her eyes and said with a smile. You dare? Huo Liancheng's handsome face turned cold. Do you want to try? Jian Yun was not afraid of death. You said so. Huo Liancheng smirked. Without waiting for Jian Yun to react, he grabbed her hands and threw himself at her. What did I say? Jian Yun asked. I'm really going to get angry if I don't do this to you. Jian Yun's voice became weaker and weaker until it turned into low breathing. Her body could not resist, but she was already cursing in her heart. Did she fall into a trap? Did this guy say that on purpose and wait for this moment? When everything was over, Jian Yun recovered her breath. Looking at President Huo, who had a satisfied look on his face, she had lost her temper. Chapter 348, well, I'll just get out of here. Okay. Now we can talk about it. How did you get here before? Jian Yun asked. I hate the smell of the powder, and you know I'm allergic to pollen. Huo Liancheng rubbed Jian Yun's neck as he explained in a low voice. But not every woman uses cosmetic powder. Jian Yun felt that this explanation was not reliable. Huo Liancheng raised his head and stared into Jian Yun's eyes with a proud and domineering expression. But not every woman who is not painted can enter my eyes. All right, you win. Jian Yun was speechless, and then she said, Then should I feel honored? Yes. Huo Liancheng scratched Jian Yun's nose and smiled. Actually, I followed you for a long time before you saved me. The photo in the wallet was taken at that time. I just didn't expect a little girl like you would dare to fight, but Huo Liancheng paused and smirked. Your ex-boyfriend is too weak. I didn't expect you to protect him. Huh? Jian Yun suddenly heard Huo Liancheng mention her ex-boyfriend. She shivered. Me protecting him? Don't be nervous. I know you have nothing to do with him. I'm just telling the truth. Huo Liancheng was amused by Jian Yun's cautious look, and his smile became gentle. Are you talking about being provoked by a few hooligans at the foot of Huangshan? Jian Yun searched her memory. She remembered that Xu Haiyang had good motor nerves. It's good to play basketball, but you're too gentle. If he wasn't pleasant, he would be a coward. Whenever he encountered trouble, he always wanted to calm down. That time, in Yellow Mountain, a few gangsters saw that she was pretty and came over to tease her. Xu Haiyang wanted to protect her, and got beaten up by one of the punks. In the end, it was still her who picked 3 people and smacked. She kicked those guys. They screamed. Could it be that Huo Liancheng was watching the scene when it happened? When Huo Liancheng heard this, he raised his eyebrows. It was a tacit agreement. Jian Yun could not help but sigh. So you had your eyes on me a long time ago. Can you not look disgusted? Huo Liancheng said gloomily. Jian Yun could not help but glare at him as she pinched the little rabbit. Can you not be so dirty? Don't you feel honored? Huo Liancheng smiled. I am doing this for you. Do you want me to tell you about that night when you raped me? Jian Yun could not take it anymore. This guy was too shameless. He even kept his body like jade. It was clearly because he was a germaphobe. All right, I didn't say anything. Huo Liancheng quickly admitted defeat. What happened that night had become a stain on his life. Who knew why he had gone crazy and said such things and done such a thing? Later, Jian Yun also asked him if it was not her first time. Would he be like what he said? He took back what he deserved and completely gave up on her. Of course the answer was no. How could he give up on her? Before that night, he had always thought that she had an ex-boyfriend. She was definitely no longer a virgin. He would be angry because of his frustration. No matter what he did, she seemed to ignore him. Her attitude towards him was also indifferent. Then, adding on the fact that she had an ex-boyfriend, that night, she lied. He followed her, but when he saw her with Shu Haiyan, it made him lose his judgment and his heart burned with jealousy. Don't mention that again, okay? Huo Liancheng saw Jian Yun staring at him and did not say anything. He could not help sighing. I admit that it was me that night. I was blinded by jealousy. Besides, other than going in, I was very gentle behind. So I still need to thank you? Jian Yun did not want to mention it, but sometimes she would think of it for no reason. Although she did not mind it anymore, she still felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. No need. Huo Liancheng quickly kissed Jian Yun. Yes, I promise. I will serve you well every time. Hey, who wants to hear this from you? Jian Yun was speechless. Then what do you want to hear? Huo Liancheng looked gentle. His eyes were full of smiles. I thought you wanted to hear this the most. You said you didn't want it, but you called it. Shut up, Huo Liancheng said. Jian Yun's face turned red. She glared at Huo Liancheng. If you say anything else, get out of here. How can you be so unreasonable? This is my bedroom. Why do you want me to get out of here? Huo Liancheng scratched Jian Yun's nose. Then I will get out. Jian Yun pushed Huo Liancheng away and got up to leave. Okay, I was wrong. Huo Liancheng quickly hugged Jian Yun and said gently, Why are you so shy so easily? I really will not talk to you again? Jian Yun did not want to chat with Huo Liancheng anymore. This guy always had the ability to lead the conversation to the point where there was no limit. Then sleep. Huo Liancheng hugged Jian Yun and could not bear to let go. The smell on her body was too good. It made him feel at ease again. His insomnia had been cured for many years. Jian Yun saw that Huo Liancheng really closed his eyes. She hesitated for a moment, but still did not ask the question in her heart. The next morning, Jian Yun was still in sleep and did not wake up when she heard someone knocking on the door. Jian Yun just wanted to get up and see who was so early when she found that the other side of the bed moved. It was Huo Liancheng who got up. He went to open the door. Jian Yun picked up her watch and looked at the time. It was not even 5 in the morning. Who was it that was so annoying to disturb people's sleep so early in the morning? While she was half asleep and half awake, Jian Yun heard Huo Liancheng's voice. Qingcheng, why are you here? What's wrong? Why is Qingcheng here? When the couple from the Huos heard the voice and saw Huo Qingcheng come out so early, they couldn't help but scold the nanny. Behind them was the nanny's voice. There was a trace of fear in her respectful tone. Madam, Miss has not slept much since last night. I just heard her call her big sister, so Okay, got it. Huo Liancheng's voice was very faint and he could not hear his emotions, but Jian Yun knew that he would not be angry about anything related to Huo Qingcheng. At this time, Jian Yun had also gotten up and put on her pajamas to come behind Huo Liancheng. Huo Shangchen and Shen Fangqi looked at her at the same time, but Huo Liancheng stepped in front of Jian Yun and used his tall body to cover the sight of the Huo's couple. Send Qingcheng back. It's so early. What should we do if Miss is frozen? Shen Fangqi looked at the nanny and said sternly. Yes, madam. The nanny was in fear and had long regretted her impulsive decision. If she had known that madam would come, she would not have pushed her here even if she was tortured to death by Huo Qingcheng. However, when the nanny was about to push the wheelchair away, Huo Qingcheng pressed the switch with her hand. She also turned her head to look at Jian Yun. Big sister. Jian Yun tugged at Huo Liancheng. Huo Liancheng turned back to look at her and saw Jian Yun say, Let Qingcheng come in. Huo Liancheng thought about it and agreed. Chapter 349, Not a Misunderstanding. Shen Fangqi was worried and followed her into the room. Jian Yun pushed Huo Qingcheng and looked at Shen Fangqi. Seeing that she did not have any intention of talking to her, she did not bother with her. Huo Liancheng's room was a suite, and when he entered, it was a small living room. Jian Yun took a blanket from the wardrobe and covered Huo Qingcheng's body. Just as she wanted to talk to her, she found Huo Qingcheng holding her hand. Jian Yun was a little surprised, and she also felt very strange. She did not know why Huo Qingcheng was so attached to her alone. Huo Liancheng took over his coat and put it on Jian Yun. When he saw Huo Qingcheng holding Jian Yun's hand, he could not help but raise his eyebrows. Talk to her? Shen Fangqi suddenly opened her mouth. Jian Yun looked at her and obediently opened her mouth to chat with Huo Qingcheng. It was not that Jian Yun listened to Shen Fangqi, but that she also wanted to help Huo Qingcheng. After all, she had a bloodline relationship with Huo Liancheng. Furthermore, she was so innocent. Such a young and lively life was imprisoned in her body. Huo Liancheng had always accompanied Jian Yun and talked to Huo Qingcheng, but other than the initial action of holding Jian Yun's hand, Huo Qingcheng did not have any other surprising actions. However, Huo Qingcheng was indeed very reliant on Jian Yun. She kept holding her hand and did not let go. Jian Yun could not leave even if she wanted to. Fortunately, Huo Qingcheng did not sleep for the entire night. After a while, she became tired. Jian Yun said until her mouth was dry and her mouth was dry. When she really could not speak, she finally fell asleep. Huo Liancheng carried Huo Qingcheng back to the room. Jian Yun wanted to follow but was stopped by Shen Fanqi. Huo Liancheng immediately stopped. Shen Fanqi saw that Huo Liancheng stood there and did not leave. He looked at her coldly and could not help but laugh. Don't worry, I will not do anything to your wife. You go first. Jian Yun pushed Huo Liancheng. She guessed that Shen Fanqi should have something to say to her. Huo Liancheng narrowed his eyes. He stopped for a second and continued to walk forward. In the room, Jian Yun and Shen Fanqi sat opposite each other. She looked at the tips of her shoes and waited for Shen Fanqi to speak, but she did not hear Shen Fanqi speak for a long time. Jian Yun looked up in confusion and saw Shen Fanqi's eyes were empty and she was in a daze. Mrs. Huo? Jian Yun could not help but call out. Shen Fanqi blinked her eyes. Her eyes slowly focused and finally fixed on Jian Yun. Do you need something from me? Jian Yun did not like staying with Shen Fanqi. What she said yesterday made her feel awkward now. Shen Fanqi looked at Jian Yun and suddenly asked, Do you know about Qing Cheng's matter? What is it? Jian Yun was stunned for a moment and then reacted. Do you mean about the car accident? Shen Fanqi only replied after a long time. Jian Yun waited for her to continue but saw Shen Fanqi start to be dazed again. She could not take the initiative to bring it up and could only sit with her. Liancheng told you, right? In the silence, Shen Fanqi opened her mouth. Her tone was faint, but it was hard to hide her sadness. Does he hate me very much? Jian Yun bit her lip. She did not know how to answer, but she shook her head. No matter how much hatred there was, it could not cover up the fact that Shen Fanqi and Huo Liancheng were mother and son after all. If Jian Yun admitted that Huo Liancheng hated Shen Fanqi at this time, she could not help but be suspected of inciting discord. Shen Fanqi obviously did not believe it. She smiled indifferently. You are really kind. Are you afraid that I will be embarrassed if you tell me? Jian Yun was silent. Shen Fanqi continued, however, he should hate me. He even hates myself. How can he not hate me? Jian Yun's brows knit together. She considered her words and carefully asked, Mrs. Huo, can I ask why? Shen Fanqi's eyes suddenly lifted and looked at Jian Yun. What why? Why, you have to do that, protecting that person and hurting your own children. Jian Yun did not care anymore. She found it unbelievable when she heard Huo Liancheng talk about the past last night. She even wanted to ask Shen Fanqi about everything. She did not expect that she would come by herself today. Did Liancheng tell you that? Shen Fanqi was not angry. There was only a trace of sadness and despair in her eyes. Jian Yun asked softly, Is there a misunderstanding between you and Liancheng? I also hope it is a misunderstanding, but the truth is so cruel. He hated me for deleting the surveillance camera and covering up for Cheng Wo. For so many years, he and I had a cold war, and did not even tell me about marriage. Shen Fanqi suddenly became excited. Jian Yun's heart was shocked. So what Huo Liancheng said was true? Do you think I am cruel? But what can I do? They are all my children. I chose Shangshan before the wedding and betrayed Cheng Rong. I left Cheng Wo behind. It has been so many years, and I don't feel good about it. Shen Fanqi had suppressed it for too long. Facing this unfamiliar daughter-in-law, she had an inexplicable desire to talk. But this cannot be the reason why you allow a child to hurt the other two children, Jian Yun said coldly. Her impoliteness also made Shen Fanqi a little surprised. She looked up at her for a while and then nodded. She said with a bitter smile, Yes, you are right, but you are not me. At that time, my brain was in a mess. The back of my hand was full of flesh. I never thought that Cheng Fen would do such a thing. I just subconsciously didn't want things to get out of hand. I abandoned him when he was very young. It was because of this guilt that I did something that I would regret for the rest of my life. At the end, Shen Fanqi already covered her face and cried. The feelings that she had suppressed for so many years finally could not be endured. Jian Yun did not know what to say. She did not have the experience of being a mother and naturally could not understand the state of mind that Shen Fanqi described. But no matter what, she should not use this method. Dual air, come over. In the silence, Jian Yun heard Huo Liancheng's voice coming from the door. She turned her head to look and saw that Huo Liancheng had come back at some unknown time and was looking at them coldly. Liancheng. Shen Fanqi saw Huo Liancheng and was shocked. She suddenly stood up. She looked at Huo Liancheng, her eyes full of panic. There was a trace of expectation in her panic. Door, let's go. Huo Liancheng did not look at Shen Fanqi. He just reached out his hand to Jian Yun. Jian Yun looked at this pair of mother and son who were like strangers and could not help but sigh in her heart. She got up and said to Shen Fanqi, Mrs. Huo, I will go first. Shen Fanqi's face was pale and her lips moved a few times but she did not say anything. Huo Liancheng held Jian Yun's hand and said in a deep voice, Go in and pack your things. The plane will take off in an hour. The plane? Where to? Jian Yun and Shen Fanqi asked almost at the same time. Go back to China. Huo Liancheng looked at Shen Fanqi and said coldly and indifferently without any emotion, Mother doesn't need to blame yourself. The back of your hand, since you can't make a choice, then I will help you. I will bring Qingcheng back to China. Next, you can take care of Big Brother wholeheartedly. Chapter 350. You are so beautiful. I like you very much. No. Shen Fanqi rushed over and screamed, You can't take Qingcheng away. However, Huo Liancheng ignored her. He held Jian Yun's hand and left. Shen Fanqi almost hit the door frame. Jian Yun turned her head and saw Shen Fanqi's face full of tears. Her dull eyes stared at Huo Liancheng. She could not help but feel very uncomfortable in her heart. In the garden, Jian Yun saw Huo Liancheng standing by the pond smoking. She could not help but feel her heart ache as she went to hug his waist from behind. Huo Liancheng immediately sucked in a cold breath. Sorry, I forgot you had a wound on your back. Jian Yun quickly let go and apologized. At this time, Huo Liancheng turned around and fiercely smoked a cigarette. He threw away the remaining half of the cigarette and spat out the smoke ring. Suddenly, he held Jian Yun's head and heavily kissed her lips. The smell of smoke mixed with his unique smell. It was that kind of alluring hormone smell. Jian Yun really liked it, so she hooked her arms around his neck and stood on her tiptoes to respond to his kiss. There was a cool breeze in the garden. The fragrance of flowers assailed people, but it could not compare to the heat of this small world. After the kiss ended, Jian Yun's little face blushed. She looked up at Huo Liancheng and asked softly, Are you in a better mood? Huo Liancheng's lips curled up slightly. Do you see that I'm not in a good mood? Jian Yun curled her lips. How can you be in a good mood when you heard what your mother said? Huo Liancheng was lost in thought for a moment. Jian Yun patted his face. Don't think too much about it. Actually, I think your mother has feelings for you. It's just that she's too stubborn, unable to extricate herself from her guilt, and then brainwashed herself. Huo Liancheng's eyelashes moved slightly. His pitch-black eyes revealed as he looked at Jian Yun's small face, but the damage has already been caused. No matter how much she does, she will not be able to recover the youth and health that Qingcheng has lost. Jian Yun's eyes flashed, and she also lost her words for a moment. That's right, what Huo Liancheng said was very right. Huo Qingcheng's youth was practically spent on cold hospital beds, accompanying those cold instruments until now, she still had not recovered. She was so foolish that she was not even comparable to. How could Shen Fanqi repay such a sin? I know what you mean, but don't worry about this matter. Huo Liancheng stroked Jian Yun's face. Of course he knew Jian Yun had good intentions, but there were some things that she could not see clearly in a short time. Go back and pack up. I have decided to bring Qingcheng back. You will not find it troublesome, will you? How could that be? Jian Yun glared at Huo Liancheng unhappily. She is your sister, my family. How could I find it troublesome? Thank you. Huo Liancheng hugged Jian Yun into his embrace, sincere from the bottom of his heart. Huo Liancheng's decision naturally attracted strong opposition from Huo Shangqian and Shen Fanqi. They did not want Huo Qingcheng to leave their side, but Huo Liancheng insisted on his own opinion. This caused Huo Shangqian to vent his anger on Jian Yun. Jian Yun felt that she was really innocent. In the end, it was Yin Che who opened his mouth and said that Huo Qingcheng's recovery had made progress. Since she liked Jian Yun, then changing the environment might be beneficial to her health. That was why he persuaded Huo Shangqian and Shen Fanqi. Then it was to make a big fuss about it. Huo Qingcheng went out the door. Other than Yin Che and the nanny, there were also the 3 health doctors and chefs. Jian Yun was shocked. Because she had been packing Huo Qingcheng's things for too long, Jian Yun was bored and waited in the garden. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. She thought that Huo Liancheng had come. The summer sun was very strong, and it was almost noon now. The sun above her head was so bright that Jian Yun's eyes were dazzled. She did not think much at all. She turned around happily and was about to pounce on him. At the same time, she acted coquettishly. You're here, I'm almost burnt by the sun. Just when Jian Yun was about to pounce on this man, she suddenly felt something was wrong. Something was wrong with Thek. This smell was not Huo Liancheng. Jian Yun stopped in her tracks. She raised her head to look. Her face was full of embarrassment. She wanted to apologize to the person who came, but when she saw the person's face, she was stunned. Why did this man look so similar to Huo Liancheng? The man's eyebrows and the corner of his mouth were exactly the same as Huo Liancheng's. In just an instant, Jian Yun immediately reacted. Could this man be Huo Chengfeng, Shen Fanqi's other son, Huo Liancheng's half-brother? Jian Yun was very sure of her guess because the two of them looked very similar to Shen Fanqi. Thinking of this, Jian Yun immediately became alert and her eyes were full of vigilance. She took 2 steps back and a strange smile appeared on her face. She very politely said, I'm sorry, I just got the wrong person. Huo Chengfeng saw that Jian Yun was about to leave and he took a step forward to block her way. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Jian Yun stopped her steps and politely said, Please step aside. You are Jian Yun, right? Huo Chengfeng did not show any intention of letting Jian Yun go. He curled his lips and smiled gently, but his eyes were shining. I have watched you dance on the internet. You dance so well. Jian Yun frowned. Thank you, but I do not know you. I never talk to strangers. Jian Yun avoided Huo Chengfeng and was about to take a detour to leave when she heard Huo Chengfeng say, You really don't know me? Then why were you surprised when you saw me just now? You are mistaken. Jian Yun said in a deep voice. Is that so? Huo Chengfeng stared at Jian Yun. His eyes did not hide his surprise. He teased. Don't you see that Liancheng and I look alike? Jian Yun suddenly looked up at Huo Chengfeng. Her small face was cold. What are you trying to say? I want a. Huo Chengfeng narrowed his eyes. The expression on his handsome face was very similar to Huo Liancheng's, but it made people's hair stand on end. He approached Jian Yun. Seeing her face full of vigilance as she stepped back step by step, Huo Chengfeng seemed to be very happy. He said in a very gentle voice, "You are so beautiful. I like you very much." "Then should I say thank you now?" Jian Yun's back was pressed against the tree. Her entire body was stiff. There seemed to be a cold breeze blowing on her arm. Goosebumps rose. "No need to thank me. What I said is the truth. However, you can consider divorce him. How about following me?" The more Huo Chengfeng looked at Jian Yun, the more itchy he felt. It was this woman in front of him that had kept Huo Liancheng in mind for so many years. He had abandoned the Huo's business and wanted to find her. It seemed that she was really a beauty. Charming. Jian Yun felt disgusted in her heart. She had heard from Huo Liancheng that Huo Chengfeng was nothing more than a ruthless person who had yet to achieve his goal. But now that they met face to face, she finally knew how shameless this person was. "With you?" Jian Yun was not a woman who would lose her mind if she was molested. At this moment, she calmed down and smiled at Huo Chengfeng calmly. "Let's talk when the sun rises from the west. You are giving me a chance to think." Huo Chengfeng did not take it to heart. He smiled even more coquettishly, like a profligate son. "Maybe you can consider asking for 2 husbands. I don't mind."